just consult at the church here, and we enter the third week of this program, and we're inviting you to come over and listen to this program. We have, without wasting much of time, we have a Reverend Father Benjamin Archie here already in the studio, the station manager, Go University, Go Radio, of course, the Director of Corporate Communication, Go University, Go University. Father, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So we are taking you. Welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Also welcome Reverend Father Joseph Izichi, the chairman of the Inculturation Commission in the University. Father, welcome.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
This evening we'll be going into a very beautiful area. We'll be talking about Christianity and neo-paganism. Today we'll be looking at the resurgence of the belief in Inowa, in some Igbo usage, Inowa. That's reincarnation, and we're asking the question: does has anything to do with prosperity? Of course, with the resurgence of new paganism, the belief in reincarnation is increasingly gaining momentum amongst the youth. Of course, we saw that the youth are beginning to say, if he wants to be a rich man, he wants to be this, want to be that, you go and do some rituals, do some sacrifice, so that you get to prosper. But the Master himself, Jesus Christ, has also reminded us that if you look at the parable of the rich man and Lazarus, we saw it clearly that Jesus himself is not talking about reincarnation. And the Hebrew says, after life, after death, comes judgment. Father Izichi, we start with you. Can you tell us what do you understand by reincarnation in Igbo cosmological perspective? Does it have any place in the church, in Christianity?
Yeah, thank you very much. Reincarnation, from its etymology, means taken from the root word carne. Carne is a Latin word for body or flesh. So when you say incarnate, it means coming into flesh, into body, like a spirit coming to take flesh, a human flesh or animal body. So that's incarnation. But then when you say reincarnate, it means that the spirit is taking the body again. And that suggests that the spirit had been in a body before and maybe had left that body due to death or whatever, and now is coming to another body. So that is reincarnate, to incarnate again, to take body again. Now, as a concept, as a doctrine in African traditional religion, it is usually used to interpret the Igbo concept of Inowa. We have two problems from that. One of the problems is a kind of conceptualization problem, because people don't really understand what the Igbo man means by Inowa. It's a conceptual problem, and it's general. In the African traditional religion, one of its problems is the inability to clarify its concepts. They believe more in practice. They act more with images and practices and rituals more than emphasizing explanations. So because of that, now many people just try to explain their own way. So there are a variety of explanations about The second problem or challenge facing the understanding is about language, terminology. Language, because if you use an English word to explain an Igbo phenomenon, you impose a different meaning from English background into the Igbo concept. So Inowa basically is not just about reincarnation alone. What the woman means is that an ancestor can actually come back to life again in a newborn child. But how it happens is where the problem lies. Now, there are so many concepts that people have employed to explain it. We have metempsychosis. It's a kind of transmigration of soul, where some people believe that Inowa implies a spirit or soul of an ancestor moving into a new child, and if the child dies, he moves into an animal and continues to move. But that's not what the Igbo man means. That's what I mean when you impose a foreign language. Then the other issue is about, okay, we even have Obanje, which is like born to die and repeating to die, but that's not the sense in which the Igbo man is saying Ino Owa. Now, how does the Igbo man mean Ino Owa? It means that the ancestor of antiquity, or even the immediate ancestor, can show himself or herself in the life or physique of a newborn. It is not necessarily that the ancestor has come back in person, like being born again, the way many people understand it. And I think it's a misunderstanding. It means that somehow a trait of that ancestor is reflected in the life of that individual. But the two people, the old man and the newborn, they are different entities. That is why even in our own culture, even in your culture, your mother may be saying that you are the son of her father, that kind of thing. Sometimes also you see some physical evidences, but because the African man doesn't have a scientific way of explaining this repetition, these reflections, they just think that it is the man who came back in body and soul. But modern science shows that such reflection can be explained through genetics, in which case a trait that has been in a lineage can keep repeating itself. It can be in behavioral forms, can even be in physical forms.
Okay, I want to invite Father to elucidate this beyond looking at the cosmology of this of the Igbos in terms of what is reincarnation. How does the church say it? You're giving us an explanation of what it means from Igbo interpretation. Maybe we don't even understand what we're saying here. For example, you look at Obanje, somebody coming back to that. How the church look at reincarnation?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I will have to appreciate the very excellent background that my brother, Father Joseph, has given to this, the understanding of reincarnation, or Elonwa, like we say it in Igbo. Yeah, you're asking how the church sees it. Well, to be very clear, if we go by the what many people understand, I need to say something about the very beautiful explanation, background explanation that Father Joseph gave. He made two distinctions here. This first understanding, this first appreciation of the concept of a soul, getting into another body, living in that body, and when that body expires, getting into another one. This is the first one. And then the second one is some character traits, some, usually very positive parts of a life that someone must have led, coming into actuation in the life of someone that is born anew. These are the two distinctions that he made. Incidentally, and well, I say unfortunately, the very first understanding is what many people believe, which, like he's trying to explain, is not really what the Igbo people really understand. And that is where we have a problem, that the greater percentage of the people believe that first explanation he gave is what Enowa means. The soul that inhabited this particular body, when the body expires, now gets into another body to begin to live one more time. That is what the majority of the people understand. And if we are to go by that understanding of the majority of the people, then that is where it comes at variance with what we teach in the Christian faith. Because that understanding of Eloah automatically contradicts what we teach in the Christian faith. In the Catholic theology, we talk about eschatology, the four last things, supported profusely by so many passages in the Bible, that after death there will be judgment, and then the soul, depending on how it tried to live in accordance with the dictates of the gospel, either receives reward or punishment. That is what we teach. That's what the basic tenet of Christianity. It's not even peculiar to Catholicism. So that is where we have a problem with what people understand as reincarnation. If that first explanation he gave is which we believe is what many people understand, the Christian faith has a problem with it, because if we hold that the soul keeps coming and coming and coming, of course it has no end. That's what it means. So it keeps coming. Or like the Obanji, like we say, this soul comes into this body, dies, then comes into another body, and it continues ad infinitum. That automatically contradicts what we teach in the Christian faith, because each soul is peculiar in its own right, and when it must have lived in that particular body that the Creator has given to it, then its life ends at this point, and then it enters into the other life, the afterlife, which could be either way: receiving reward for having led a very good life that is in accordance with the dictates of the gospel, or some punishment not having lived the way the gospel had demanded. So the Christian faith has a problem with the first understanding of reincarnation, which, like I said, is the appreciation of the majority of the people about it. But the second part, the church doesn't have a problem with it, because we know that an ancestor or an older person nearing his end could have some good wishes for someone who must have treated him or her well, and wishing this person well, and say, okay, well, I am very grateful for the way you treated me, and you will have a reward for it. Part of that reward may be, it's a wish, actually. So when there are some good character traits or some strengths of this person coming in the life of someone that's born, like he rightly stated, it doesn't mean this person coming back. It is a kind of, well, reward, if you like, of something positive which this person who had passed may have experienced. We will also come to that, because you find a situation where even someone who is still living gets someone in his lineage, in his or her lineage, having the same character traits, having the same similarities and everything, having the same birthmarks. This person is not dead yet, but you still see everything you find in this older person in the younger person. So what we say about that? We say it is this soul now still living, coming into another body.
Thank you, Father.
So that's it. Let's stop at that.
It's not good that from what we that looking at once the blueprint of life, the DNA, or maybe the traits, that one can inherit all these things, and begin to believe that somebody who died will come back and begin to manifest the same behaviors. But let's take the background of, because let's clear it like this. What is the difference between reincarnation and incarnation, going by the Catholic theology?
Okay, reincarnation, like I've already pointed out initially, incarnation means that the spirit or spiritual being is taking flesh. It might be human flesh, it might be animal flesh, but particularly about human flesh. And in Christian theology, Jesus Christ is the greatest example of incarnation, being the Son of the Father. The Word took flesh and dwelt among us. John chapter 1 verse 14. You see, and so because God is spirit, and God's word coming to take flesh is incarnated in human body through the act of the Holy Spirit, the Virgin Mary's Son, was the Son of God himself. And the church teaches that Jesus Christ, as the Son of Mary, was also Son of God. And in fact, he was God himself. Because the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And that Word took flesh and dwelt among us. So, Christian theology believes in that capacity of God to come and take human flesh for the salvation of man. But the Christian theology doesn't support reincarnation in the sense that people hold it. In African theology, African traditional theology, reincarnation is what they emphasize, not even incarnation. Because I think the explanation might be because the African man doesn't immediately see the spirit coming to take human flesh. They don't emphasize it. And they know it might be possible, but they are emphasizing human being dying and coming back to live again. Not spirit, not heavenly spirit coming to take flesh. There are other concepts they use to explain pure spirit taking body, like in terms of symbolization or containment or possession. Possession is a case where a spirit might just manifest itself in a human being and start to control the human being. And the human being will be acting fully in the force of the spirit and in the direction of that spirit. But it's different from incarnation, it's just possession. So what they emphasize is reincarnation, in the sense that it is a spirit that is already embodied, like a human being living. Man is body and spirit. So when the man dies, they believe that in their cyclic way of thinking, the African man, African traditionalists, they believe that the dead man has the capacity to live again by being born again, either by one of the daughters or by somebody in the lineage. That's the difference. So reincarnation is just double incarnation, where incarnation is just simple, and it is in reference only to the God the Son coming. The Christian teaching doesn't see any human being reincarnating, but just Jesus Christ who came to become man for our sake.
I think the next issue borders on, are there medical conditions or scientific proofs to kind of buttress that reincarnation, about reincarnation in terms of science, what science about reincarnation? Any medical condition that warrant somebody saying, could have explains what we have just said about reincarnation? Somebody dying or somebody manifesting particular.
So does it have medical? Does it have any? Can it be associated with medicine in any way?
Yes, it can, but not for the African man.
Okay.
The African man, I would think that the traditional African mind had not developed high level of medical explanation, so they go more of mythical explanation. But there is a medical explanation, like what we talk about genetics, where something, a trait or a quality that has been in the lineage of a people, even up to the 10th generation, can result itself. There is also the other case of mutation, where a woman, my people say sometimes, if a woman is pregnant, do not show the woman an ugly object, because the baby might copy. Exactly. You see, that is a kind of explanation. But when they come to African religion, they tend to disregard these human explanations and believe that some spiritual action has really happened.
Please.
Yes, I need to add something to that. What Father Joseph said is actually the unfortunate situation we have. The fact that we're trying to give some religious coloring to things that have very clear categorical scientific explanations. That is actually the problem we have in most parts of Africa. That this thing is either black or white, and science, which is even given to us by the Creator himself, has made these things clear. The extent we should understand it, to the extent we should appreciate it, we still disregard that which God has given us, because whatever web science has involved and whatever scientific development we have today, I believe also comes from the Creator, because all knowledge comes from Him. But now, the problem we have in Africa is that with the volume of knowledge available to us, of scientific knowledge available to us today, we still seem to play down on it and then hold on to that which we want to hold on to. It goes with, it's just like underscoring that English language expression, where ignorance is bliss, it is folly to be wise. Science already tells us, just like he said, that there are some genetical explanations to this. And just like I said a moment ago, one of the things that people hold on to, for which they are ready to even take a bullet in defense of the fact that people can die and come back again, is that they see some genetic science or traits in this person who had passed coming in the life of this one that is just newly born. It could be a birthmark, it could be the way this person speaks, it could be other idiosyncrasies of this particular person that has passed. But I said a moment ago that you find situations, and I've seen situations actually, where someone who is still living, finds some traits of his or hers in someone that is newly born in his lineage, having the same birthmarks, having the same way of speech,
like
the same mannerism and everything. This person hadn't passed yet. So science has a very clear explanation for a thing like that. So it is just a case of us, regrettably, deciding to close our eyes to that which science has placed on our lap. So that's the situation we have. Trying to give some kind of mythical explanations and spiritual explanations to something, that we already have answers for. Science, like we have always been told, is not contradicting faith. Reason doesn't contradict faith. There have been, efforts made over time to make us understand that these things can actually come together. There are times in the past, in the past, historical past, where we were making the mistake of thinking that these things are running on two parallel lines, but that's not true. Eventually, with the passage of time, it was corrected. That it is actually God who gave us that knowledge, that scientific knowledge, that makes us to explain things that we are hitherto considered mysteries, like this one. And that is why I find it a little strange that even with all the advancement in science today, even with all the knowledge and exposure that people have, they still hold on to these all these primitive fault lines, trying to hold on to these things which we already have ample explanations for. So,
okay, Father Benjamin,
yes.
There was a time both of you mentioned Obanje issues.
Yes.
So I wanted to ask, do you think there is anything like that? Or is it because there was no enough medical or scientific explanation to things, like you said, that made all those children die as at that time?
Well, yeah.
Because
it was
personally, I feel there is nothing like that. That Obanje thing does not exist. It's just because they were not exposed as at the time. That's why they lost.
People didn't have enough scientific knowledge as at the time this was happening. We know what happens when people whose genotypes do not match get married. You get children who are
eventually
of sickle cell, and exactly so they become anemic. And with the passage of time and knowing also that science and medicine hasn't developed in our own part of the world the way it has now, those children die. They give birth to a child, that one dies. The other one, because the genotype of that child happens to be better, lives, and they say this one is Obanje because that one eventually died. These were all things concepts that came into our people's heads just because they were ignorant, But let me even shock you that in the 21st century, in 2024 Africa, you still get people, men and women, young people, who will even go to the hospital. They say they are in love with each other. Now, science says you are AS ma, you are AS sir, and two of you cannot get married. They say no, we have so much love for each other. We believe that we will pray and God will now change it, and it will become possible again that we eventually the children will born will not have any sickle cell with them. So it is a problem of our over dependence on religion. In fact, we overshoot religion in most of the things we do. We believe that God has answered to everything, and prayers has answered to everything. Religion has answered to everything.
That God doesn't do magic.
Yes, exactly. And that same God who has given you this scientific knowledge is trying to give you a reality check. This is what you should do. Don't cross this line. This is what you should do.
Okay, listeners,
yes.
God doesn't perform magic. We'll get back to you shortly. Let's open the phone lines. But I would have loved
to. The last question before we open the phone lines. So we want to find out why is that people still go back, youth particularly, one of them is young men going back to their ancestors to please them, do sacrifice before ritual so they can have success in life. If you just give 2 minutes, so we can see the phone lines.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think that, number one is that the ordinary African has a mythical way of seeing his problems, not scientific. So, and even when they believe in science, if they can't keep their hands on it, they go the one that is easier for them. If you take the kind of hardship our people are suffering today, many people who have gone to school can't find work. Many people who have learned something can't even find money to start up a business. The only thing that they can do for themselves is go the one that they don't have a lot of. You don't need, if you want to go to a Dibia, you don't need anybody to take you there. You don't need a middleman. So our people easily slip back to the mythical beliefs that some of these problems that they can't find solutions for can be sorted out spiritually. And it is the same spiritual mentality that is even driving Christians to keep going to prayer houses. Okay? A lady who has not married and has come of age and thinks that her age is going continues to go from one prayer house to the other. It's the same mentality. But they tend to forget that there are some physical things you can do to solve your problem. So I think it's just the need for solution. And because they do not usually think scientifically, they think mythically, in which case everything is caused by spirit. Everything, if I don't get married, that some grandfather or some uncle in the village was causing it. If I get sick, there must be somebody who poisoned me. If I can't get a job, somebody was wishing me bad luck. So because they're thinking in this spiritual way, they go for spiritual solutions. But the funny thing is that if they do the right things, they could also, because that person who is going to the Tibia to make concoctions for success, if you give me a test on the course he studied, he will fail.
Okay, Father, we open the phone line because we just have two things. We're calling people to know what is happening here and there.
I would like to say, what if it's not about all of that? They feel the spiritual controls the physical. So, but they understood it in the wrong way. What if that's it? But then you hold on to it when we are getting one or two persons to come back. But Reverend Ben, there's something you must clear us on. So we'll know what we're going to take home. Just put it down so I don't forget. Okay. So now, what are we taking home? Is it that Christianity has no problem with reincarnation? That's the Yellow one. But they have problem with the practices and sacrifices that involve the Eloah thing. Is it a clash of the practices and sacrifices that comes with the Eloah in the traditional aspects that we're having issues with in the Christian aspect? No, we are not answering it now. I just want you to put it there. I don't want to forget it. 09128945. Hello, good evening. Dr. Daze.
Catholic, I believe. My name is Odazi. It looks like African traditional religion is the one that is in your front burner today. We keep interrogating African traditional religion. But we know, we people, all of us know, there are some other religions that believe in reincarnation and all that. Like, for example, you take you take Grail, Lesson Yampa, and the rest. There are some of us that have taken a lot of time to find out about this reincarnation. And we say we don't have the scientific way of knowing about it in Africa. I beg to disagree with you. Africa had a very scientific way of doing things before Christianity came. And when Christianity came, we began to wrestle between Christianity and our local religion. And up till now, today, we've not been able to decipher which one is better. Until Christ or the church has not been able, that is Christianity, to tell us here, and taking a closer look on this setting, Nigerian setting, where we are basically Christians, we've not been able to convince the Christians that this is not like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I would want a situation where we say, okay, this is it. Like, great. They managed to, reconcile, turn it around, keep saying it, convince their group. Islam, too, they have it in Islam, mind you, but I'm not delving into that. But the Christian,
Doctor, does it, because of time?
not managed in Christendom to decipher, was our traditional religion wrong? Were we getting it wrong? Were we ignorant? Now, if we are, this is where we should plug it and begin to get it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Daze. 09128945945.
We want to make it very brief, please. We have just a minute for every contributor. Hello?
Hello, good evening. Hello?
Hello,
Good evening, your name and location.
yeah, my name is Ayub. I'm calling from Office Management State.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I really want to come out for where the said that, like, I do what? Yeah, the perspective is not really true. I said that even in my own house today, like I said, my son, which I named my mistake, I want to, because I named his own name as a junior. Now my father lived there in the year 1990. And I think that as they go my father, as they go him, because he was born, many pastors that don't know my father, or don't know my family, give it like a prophet will talk about it, that person is going that the person that is going to come is so and so person, and you know that what I use and know that is the word that is coming. And I think if he shows that, because there is a name that my father used to answer. That means if you take control that you are not possible down there, and you take it until the time what old woman came to my house and called him down there. That's the day that my God laughed, and he was very happy from that day to today as I was telling you.
Please round up, please. You're asking a question.
The one that I am confused is that one you get the paragraph the Holy Spirit. That one is the one that I want all the pastors to let us know the meaning of that one. Because my own understanding, it's only this flesh and this spirit that we are using as a woman, and the soul. Because your spirit can move away. Another thing can kidnap your spirit according to our
Please.
Okay. Sorry, you actually moved.
Please, you have not answered the question. You just keep on rambling, because if you look at what they're saying, life, how they explain identical twins, do they reincarnate? But we've done that. We just 1 minute to serve with a round up. Hello, good evening. Oje,
ma adịghị ekele m. Anyị nwere ihe bụ ihe ụwa a na-anụ ụwa. Eji m ọya ama na-eke wee ji ihe example na dịka ihe atụ ihe example. Ọya ama na-eke nke spesi bụ na ebe anyị n'ihe siri ọya ama. Ọya ama na-eke nwere egbe gbagbuo onwe ya. So ọ dịghị na nwatakịrị ụwa. Ihe ahụ ụta ahụ si etinye aka na akpịrị bụ egbe ahụ. Onye nwere ụwa akpịrị ya baa n'ime otu ahụ. Adịkwa na my family, enwere nwanne m bịa n'anya ahụ. Enwere nwanne m bịa n'anya ahụ mgbe ọ bịara ụwa ahụ. So asị ole tinyere afọ mpam iyi ya ọ bụ na eyi ya afọ mpam agadi nwaanyị bịa bịa bikọba ada sị na eyi ya afọ mpam na ahụ ga-ajụ oyi and abịa yi ya afọ mpam ahụ kwụsị eyi ozugbo enwere ihe mbụkwa iyi ụwa ọkwa mara arịọ mmadụ ụwa na-ayọ ụwa.
Thank you. Thank you, Oje. You know, when we look at science and look at all this, it's very clear. When a woman is asleep and there is a conception, will we say, how do they, if there's no mystery of a man and a woman, how would they be conception? Well, let me return to Reverend Father Archie so that this will round up. We just have about 3 minutes to you. Father, have just 2 minutes.
There is a point we need to get clear in our conversation today. The question is reincarnation, the concept of reincarnation, the way we understand it in Igbo cosmology, does it have a place in Christian faith? That's the question I asked, and the categorical answer to this is no, because it contradicts what we have in the Christian faith. If you are a Christian and you believe what the Bible teaches us, what the faith teaches us, that the soul inhabits one particular body, and once that body expires in death, that soul receives judgment and then goes either way of receiving eternal reward or punishment, that automatically contradicts what we say in reincarnation. If it means this soul inhabiting another body and coming back over and over and over again, it is in contradistinction with what we teach in the Christian faith. We need to get this point very clear today. And I need just to add one more thing, just to the explanation my brother gave earlier on. We have a problem, those of us Africans, of thinking that our world, the African world, is the only world there is. That is the problem we have. We have never asked ourselves, people who live in other parts of the world, why do they not have ancestors as well? So why would they not have challenges of making wealth or those other things that make us go back to these practices? They still try because they know it is through the dint of hard work that they will ever record any success. This is what we teach. This is what we know. It has nothing to do even with Christianity or with religion. It is something we know ordinarily, and we should bear this in mind.
Okay, Father.
Thank you.
Yeah, another thing we have to bear in mind in this discussion is that we are not judging African traditional religion. We're not judging them. We are just bothered that some Christians are thinking, getting convinced by the tenets of African traditional religion, and we need to explain to them what Christianity demands, what Christianity teaches, and where it doesn't agree. And in fact, what we do as Christian theologians is to interrogate those things our people claim. A number of those people that called made claims that this thing happened to them. And I'm not going to, argue against somebody's personal experience. It's just like debating against somebody's dream. You weren't there when he dreamt. But I can tell you that when we look at so many other claims, you try to sieve it rationally. Do you know that myself, I am called my grandfather? My grandfather Normowa. But funny enough, my grandfather was alive when I was born. Yet, Onoparmowa. So how did it happen then? Okay. You use these other people's experience to assess the other people's experience, and you try to come at something that is reasonable. So and in fact, my cousin is a boy, but only my grandmother, a woman or a man or what? Is it the spirit of the woman that moved?
So it doesn't make sense, though.
So it doesn't make sense to me. So when
since it has to do with spirit
coming
back.
Yeah. So that's why I said, even if they told me 100 cases, I will not doubt those cases, but I'll bring them other cases that contradict them. That's why I said in the beginning that in Africa we have a problem of conceptualization, understanding what really happens, not just making examples, but explaining the example.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Reverend Benjamin Archie because this is a beautiful delivery once again. Reverend Benjamin Archie, I want to thank you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Very much, and thank you, Reverend Joseph Chairman of the Corporation Commission, welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
It's wonderful because each time we talk about this program, it is a light to engage ourselves as Catholic or Christian that this is again the teaching of the church. We're giving the church, telling Christians this is what is, not what ought to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you.